Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Guys, everybody has been asking me, what do I eat? What should I eat before tennis? Well, it took me a while, but I was able to find a tennis player, a pretty high-level tennis player, who is now a nutritionist. I'm calling in the expert on this one for you guys, okay? Stay tuned. All right, guys, so I called in the expert. I got Molly, help me with your last name? Aloya here with me today. I've only known her as Coach Molly, so excuse me. I've known her for probably 10 years when she was the coach at Dominican University's women's team. Now, let me describe a little bit about Molly here. She played at St. Mary's College 4 years, so very high level, Division I. She then took on an assistant coaching role at Dominican, right? And then became the head coach over there. So Dominican University is a Division II with a great tennis program out here in San Rafael, California. She actually quit the college coaching thing and went on to get a master's in nutrition. So speaking of nutrition though, Molly has decided to get a oat milk latte today right there. And I have my standard dark roast. And the sponsor for this coffee.
Yeah, should we do this?
Yes. The sponsor for this coffee and our coffees of today is Lawrence Luck. Thank you, Lawrence, for sponsoring our coffee. Thank you, Lawrence. If you want to sponsor our coffee or our future coffees, network is buymeacoffee.com/tennis spin. All right. Thank you guys in advance. So let's start with the coffee. Why oat milk latte?
Okay, why oat milk latte? Milk latte. I chose oat milk because often I do sheep and or goat dairy, but a lot of places don't offer that. And so if they're offering just standard milk, it has higher levels of A1 beta casein instead of A2, which is found in goat. And my body processes it, handles it differently. So when I can't control that part, I opt for the nut milks.
I see.
Yeah, so the alternative milks.
So why A1 versus A2?
A1 is associated with more chronic health conditions. And so such things as diabetes, heart disease, it's associated more with A1, whereas A2 is easier to digest, and it's more similar to the type of protein found in human breast milk as when we were infants. So it's easier to digest and it's easier on your gut. And so it doesn't cause as much inflammation. My body handles it better. I notice when I cut out cow milk originally, my skin conditions got a lot better and I started having less GI issues. So I slowly introduced and tried goat milk, and my body handles it differently. So
wow,
trial and error.
Literally shocked right now. So a lot of us who we claim to be lactose intolerant, right? As soon as we drink a latte that's with whole milk or skim milk even, we kind of bloat up and kind of have a lot of gas. Is that the cause?
So we have an enzyme, lactase, that helps us digest lactose. And a lot of us, evolutionarily, around the age of 12, that enzyme shuts off. And so those that have that process have a harder time digesting milk because lactose, the sugar found in milk, and is digested by lactase. And so people that have that issue, that's a lot of times what's going on, but also it could be, they could have that enzyme still, because some of us still have the enzyme. But then the process of how cow milk has like the different types of proteins in it, it's the protein that also could be causing the issue for you. So it's not necessarily the sugar, but it could be the protein. And so for me, goat milk is how I usually go because it has higher levels of A2 beta casein.
Got it. We actually got way off subject. This is not where I wanted to go. Just to let you guys know. Yes. I just actually go black coffee now because I don't put any dairy or anything. It was from back in my college days.
Yeah.
There was a thing called you guys already know this, but there's a roach coach in front of SF State, and I would literally be kind of late to school every day. And I would just grab the biggest cup, go out to the truck and just fill it up. I would look over to the cream and sugar, and there was a line there. I was like, I got no time for this. I popped it in. I just learned how to drink black coffee.
Well, and it's probably better. You're getting more access to the polyphenols that are in it. And so coffee is rich in polyphenols. And so when you also start to add in some kind of milk, you're getting less of it. So your body's not able to absorb it as much. So black coffee is better for absorption of polyphenols.
As I tell you guys, it is a diuretic, so it helps with processing. As you get older. All right, let's get back on subject. So Molly, why nutrition after tennis?
My whole life, I've been somewhat interested in nutrition, more for my athletic performance. So I played competitive soccer my whole life, competitive tennis. And then going into college, I started majoring, my major was kinesiology, health and human performance. And so in that major, we got a lot of sports nutrition. We had nutrition involved in it, and then sports nutrition and exercise physiology. And so that kind of coupled my interest in nutrition to help out with athletic performance. So I got really into it in that sense. And then when I was 24, I was diagnosed with, it's called POI, premature ovarian insufficiency. When I was diagnosed with it, it was called premature ovarian failure. So it's a health condition in which my ovaries completely stopped working. And so as a result, I was going through crazy hormonal changes. My body was it was not happy. I was having blood sugar issues. I was pre-diabetic at the time. Didn't know, I was experiencing issues of being pre-diabetic with my blood sugar, but I didn't know what was causing it. I was always active. I always ate well. My body weight was always within healthy range. And so I was like, okay, what's going on here? So I started diving into nutrition and took kind of more of a holistic approach to it. And I did through the process of eliminating things like cow milk. And I started eliminating different types of foods just to play around with how is it affecting me. And I started noticing at the time I was having really bad insomnia as well. As your hormones completely go out of whack, sleep changes, your body's ability to digest food changes. So a lot of different things are happening. And so I started playing around with okay, let me try removing this food. Let's try removing this food. See how my body does. So it's called an elimination diet. And so through the process of doing that, I started noticing my cognitive abilities with focusing, because I was having high levels of brain fog. That improved upon changing my diet. And then my energy levels changed. My sleep started getting better. And I started feeling just more balanced. So I was like, well, okay, there's stuff to this. And so I started getting really into that side of stuff. And I was noticing it was time I start focusing on my health a little bit more, because I wasn't necessarily doing it as much as I should have. So I stepped away from tennis for a bit. And I went and got my master's degree in nutrition. And because I'm kind of a nerd, I really enjoy research. And so I also got another master's degree at the same time in integrative medicine research. So I was doing two master's degrees at the same time to overall, essentially at first it was for my own health. But then I'm like, I have this knowledge. I'd like to give it back and hopefully help people with it. And why not couple it with my passion in tennis?
There you go, guys. Told you I brought you an expert. I'm going to get off subject again. So you went from a normal, let's say, college kids, busy person's diet to what?
So that process, the elimination diet, what I was doing is I actually removed all grains. I removed dairy, and I started going for it. It's called an anti-inflammatory elimination diet. So you do it over a period of a few weeks. And so you start feeling out, okay, eating just organic foods that are minimally processed, whole foods. And then also a little bit, in a true anti-inflammatory diet, you're removing nuts as well. That was really hard because I was like, how do I do this as a coach and trying to be active? So that's where I didn't fully remove nuts, but then upon removing like wheat, that's really where I really felt my body started to handle things better. And so at that time I was doing no grains, no dairy, minimally processed foods, whole foods, cooking everything. And then that's where I started to see the change. And over the years, I've added back in different things to see how I do. Mm-hmm. Now I'm primarily just gluten-free for the sake of, I notice my body does best off of gluten. And there's some people that can start to add it back in, but in standard U.S. diet, how gluten is made in the U.S., it's completely different than how it used to be. So if you're eating gluten and you're fine with it, I would just suggest try to choose organic, try to choose more ancient grains. And like, let's say if you like bread, sourdough bread, it's great.
Oh, okay. So there's
like,
an alternative.
Do more, yeah.
Okay. So tell me what like a meal looks like for you. What does breakfast look like for you? What does lunch look like for you?
Breakfast for me, like I said, I do the goat milk. My friend sees me, they're like, you love like your goat dairy. I like, it's called goat, it's kefir. So
okay,
kefirs are, yeah. So I like doing like a goat kefir, and then I'll put nuts in there, and then I do fruit, and then I do cinnamon with it, and sometimes like coconut flakes. I've tried to do something that has fat, fiber, and protein. Because that combination of those three, that really helps with your blood sugar balance, helping it last longer, and it gives you energy. So like those three things, if you can get it within a meal, that's great. Or I do like green smoothies, and I add like whey protein into it, and I do some berries in it. Or eggs. Eggs are great.
Okay.
Yeah, so like pasture-raised eggs. If you eat animal foods, that is, not everyone follows the same diet. But if you eat animal products, then yeah, pasture-raised eggs are great. It's such an absorbable protein, and it has so many different other minerals. Just how you cook it matters.
What does lunch look like then?
Lunch for me, if I have leftovers from the night before, oftentimes my lunch will be leftovers because I'm big on trying to save time. So if I like made dinner the night before, I will try to keep my leftovers for lunch. If I don't have that, then sometimes I just do like, I'm doing like rice and quinoa, like little rice crackers, sure. And I'll put like some kind of like avocado on there. Then I can have like a hard-boiled egg, something with, again, fat, fiber, protein.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. You sound like a lot of people that I know. Are you one of those people who like nibble? Are you a nibbler?
It depends. If I've had enough protein in my meals, protein helps with satiety, so like making you feel full. So if I've had enough protein and enough fat with the meal, I don't feel the sensation to nibble. But if I feel like my blood sugar, because I didn't have enough fat and protein in my meal, I find myself, I will nibble. But there's research going back and forth on like the snacking.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually jump now because this was actually down the road. I'm gonna tell you what I think is wrong with me, or describe to you what I deal with. I'm gonna actually just try to see if I could get analyzed right now. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm one of those people who don't eat during the day. I just don't eat. This is it right here, until 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night.
Really?
This is.
Until 10.
And then I take in like 2,000 calories at 9 or 10.
Okay.
Because lead such an active life, and like my body is just constantly just rolling. So I can't, if I take anything in, it slows me down, and I don't really like that feeling.
Okay.
So what's wrong with me? I mean, I'll literally drink 3 of these if I could.
Are you drinking water?
I'm not.
No water.
No.
Okay.
Because I don't have time to go to the bathroom.
Stringing.
Exactly.
I would say fasting's great, but you want to ensure that you're fasting. So there's various different, fasting can be great. I'll say that. The research shows that, like, especially a lot of the research is done on guys, and so we can understand what fasting's doing for men, whereas for women, our hormones are different, and a lot of the research hasn't even been done on women yet, so we don't know how that's having an effect on our hormones. So That's why I have the asterisk. It's great, but it needs to, I think there's more research that needs to be done, just to ensure that it is beneficial for everyone. But you want to fast, however, you also want to make sure that you're not going too long without eating, and then also when you're eating so late at night, all of your calories, then it also might be hindering your sleep. And how's your sleep?
So here's the thing. Because I eat like at night, that's actually my sleeping pill. Because all the blood rushes are the thing, I'm just like, dang, I actually sleep pretty well.
Okay. Now, what are you eating?
Not great stuff.
Okay. So
the typical American diet.
The standard American diet. Okay. Yeah. So I think also fasting is good, and then paying attention to essentially what you're eating is beneficial too. If you're eating minimal amounts of vegetables, like not a ton of vegetables. Okay.
You described it, yes.
And it's like a heavier, is it a processed carbohydrate?
Like, rice, breads with a protein like beef or chicken.
Those foods aren't necessarily bad. However, you want to look at the source and quality of those foods. And if you can get it a little further away from sleep time, like carbohydrates and protein are beneficial to have to help you with sleep. But then right before bed and that large of a meal is a little hard. And then throughout the day, you're training your body. Essentially, if you're doing this day in and day out, you might be hindering your body's ability to fully metabolize foods. So like people do intermittent fasting. So like they'll have periods, and also just even like 3 days a week they can do that. So that way they ensure that their metabolism is still working. If you're going that long without eating all the time and then everything all at once at night, your body might be thinking that it's going through a process of not enough food, holding on to it, metabolism drops, because anytime it does get food, it's like, oh, we finally got food. We're not in survival mode, but then it thinks, what if we go back into that state? And then it's now holding on to it, and it's not necessarily metabolizing it in the same way that it could if you ate maybe a little sooner than just like every 24 hours.
That brings up a good point. Like, is this why my body doesn't want food before I play or do any kind of exercise? Because literally it'll stay right here and be like holding me down.
Yeah, you're creatures of habit, and so you get used to these habits and these routines. And so it might be that you've done this for so long that your body's now accustomed to it, and it's not accustomed. The digestive enzymes are not firing in the morning if you're trying to eat before you go play. And so those digestive enzymes aren't accustomed to being activated, and so then therefore you're not breaking it down. What's happening too is if you're eating on the go, always on the go, you're not in what's known as rest and digest. So if you want to be in that rest and digest state where you have like your fight or flight state, where you're on the go, you're moving, you're doing this, and then rest and digest. That's controlled by like your vagal nerve. Your vagal nerve tells you, okay, we're calm, and that's actually stimulating your body to produce various digestive enzymes that's prepping you for eating. So if you're on the go eating and you're not actually sitting down, being present with your food, then your body's not going to digest the food as well.
Right.
So you need to make sure that when you're eating, you're in a state to eat. So that way your body can fully metabolize it. Because if you're not metabolizing it, you're right, it's just going to sit there. You're going to feel heavy. You're going to feel lethargic because your body's not able to start that whole metabolizing process. Right. So you really want to make sure that when you eat, devote time to eating. Make it this period of, if I can have 20 minutes where I can sit down, be present with my food, eat, ensure that your body's feeling like, okay, we're getting our digestive enzymes going. And then that way you can eat the food and enjoy it, and then metabolize it right. Also, there's things that you can do to help aid in metabolizing your food. There's like digestive bitters that you can do. These are herbal formulas, or you can even do like lemon water 25 minutes before you eat. Lemon water can help stimulate the gastric, the gastric acids and the enzymes to help you metabolize the food better. You want to get your body going to be like, oh, okay, it's time to eat. Think about something that tastes really good right now. In your mind, if you can think about it, what do you start to notice?
The smells, the
so are you salivating?
Feel, yeah, the tongue feel.
And so that process, that's like this, it's called the cephalic phase of digestion. Thinking about food and that whole process of getting ready, your body's actually secreting salivary amylase, which helps break down carbohydrates in your mouth, and it's stimulating your body to start getting ready to secrete insulin. So then that way, once you start eating food, you're able to digest it. So even that process of thinking about food is helping you get ready to eat. And like it's kickstarting your metabolism to enjoy the food and digest it right. So that whole process is really key for helping you feel like you can digest your food.
I'm getting a Big Mac and fries after this, guys, okay? Because that's what I'm feeling right
That's what you're thinking about. You're salivating thinking about that.
I know you would never touch that.
That's the other thing. If you have those meals that like you really, really want that, enjoy it. Because you want to make sure that you are digesting it.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
And you don't want guilt around food. that hinders your ability to digest things too.
Oh, let's get into some of the stuff that we have here.
Okay.
This is the stuff that I see at most facilities, clubs and like vending machines that you can buy.
And when I was a coach and a player in college, we often would have these as well. I think like the truth of college coaching and also college tennis, there's a budget that you're on. And so coaches, when you're trying to buy food, you're having to stay within this budget. So you're trying to get the most for your money. Oftentimes these are like $1.50, I think, or $1.19. Whereas when you start to go into something that maybe might be a little bit better for you, the college budget doesn't necessarily cover it.
Plus the budget.
Yeah, and that's what you need to constantly follow and be aware of as a coach. These are, let's see, these are okay. Usually, the soybeans, soy protein, these are high in soy.
Cheaper protein.
Yes, it is. And also, a lot of times, these Clif bars, they have a lot of times these bars, they all contain something they're called they're vegetable oils. And you've probably heard of like soybean oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. They contain omega-6 fatty acids. Those are we need them. They're essential in our diet. However, the standard American diet eats far too many omega-6 fatty acids because you start to find it in, here it is, high oleic sunflower oil in this one, and I believe this one has high oleic sunflower oil as well. They put them in there because they are also cheaper to use. Like you're saying with the soy protein, it's cheapest, and you find that a lot everywhere, but soybean oil is omega-6 fatty acids. So when you're seeing such a high level of omega-6 fatty acids, it's detrimental. On its own, omega-6s are needed, they're essential. But when you start eating too many of them, it can lead to like a pro-inflammatory process in your body. So it's causing inflammation in your body if you eat too much of it. The ideal ratio, so omega-3s are also essential fatty acids, and the ideal ratio is like around a 4-to-1, 4 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. So that's like the standard. You can go a little lower than that, like a 2-to-1 ratio. You really don't see that in many diets these days. However, in the standard American diet, it's around 20-to-1 with upwards to 50-to-1.
Ooh.
And so it's because it's everywhere. You start to see it hidden in everything. For instance, let's look at these potato chips.
That has it.
Yes, the second ingredient is vegetable oil. Contains one or more of the following: peanut, corn, cottonseed, sunflower, canola, safflower, soybean, and soybean oil. So this is highly fried, processed carbohydrates. The potatoes, they're not that processed, but the oils.
It's so
they
good.
Taste very good. However, you're seeing potato chip brands starting to use avocado oil. Have you seen that before?
Yes.
Avocado oil, if it's a good product, a lot of times to save money, they mix avocado oil with another avocado oil, but they don't say 100% avocado oil in there. They can get away with just saying avocado oil. But if it's made with 100% pure avocado oil, then it's a lot more heat stable. It's not causing that same inflammatory pathway. So you can start to choose those. If you want that salty potato chip, there's different ways you can choose it. You can choose the ones that are going to have less of an impact on your body. So,
that's great to know.
Yeah, so start to choose foods that are maybe a little bit better of an option. And because if you are in a high inflammatory state, so as an athlete, you're already putting your body through this high working process that you're creating inflammation. It's a natural process, inflammation is. Our body does it to help heal and break things down. But when you're in a chronic inflamed state, that's where it becomes detrimental, because all of the antioxidants that you're eating, so like blueberries or in your green leafy vegetables, or even in if you eat organ meats, which we can get into if you want, but they contain antioxidants.
Okay.
And so these antioxidants help. So they help fight off inflammation. But if you're in a chronic inflamed state, then all of it's constantly having to go to that to fight off highly processed omega-6 industrial oils. It's fighting off that oxidized process, and then it can't go to other parts where your body needs it. So you're in this constant inflamed state. Working out is already putting you into this process of breaking things down, and your body will, in order to help heal, use antioxidants. But if you're eating foods like this, that's taking it away. Sugar can cause it too. Excess sugar does. Then your body's constantly in that deficit.
Got it.
So that's
why. Must be way down there then.
No, but so you start to just notice that you can start, like when you are in an inflamed state, you might feel things like brain fog and or lethargy, or you don't feel like you can get as much out of exercise, or focusing is a little bit down. So things like that can be signs that your body might be in an inflamed state.
Got it. It must be in a constant inflamed state.
And so things like, for instance, I brought this.
She brought her own to show you, okay?
So this is a decent one. So let's say if you are in a match or an hour before the match. Instead of doing that, which has some preservatives in it, this is pretty good because it has dates in it. Dates contain fructose and glucose, which is simple, easy energy that your body can just break down. And there's really no preservatives in this, and it contains pink salt. Your body needs sodium. As an athlete, you need sodium. And so something like this and or Lara bars are great too. For like
Lara bars.
Hour.
I like those.
Yeah. So like the hour before you're about to go compete, if you are going to be competing for more than 90 minutes, an hour to 35 minutes before you compete, you should be having some kind of easy to digest carbohydrate.
Cool.
Yeah.
What else you got there?
I got the angel banana. I'm huge on the bananas for in match play. Bananas are great.
Yep.
They've done some studies where they're comparing bananas, let's just say, to Gatorade. Bananas outperformed Gatorade for giving people more endurance, more energy, and it contains natural amounts of potassium in it. And so it's a great fructose that your body's able to digest and absorb, and there's glucose in it, so that way you can get that type of energy.
I'm just looking at the other part there.
Oh, sorry. This one. So this is just you might have heard of Bob's Red Milk.
Yes.
Yeah, so Bob's Red Milk produces some pretty good things. I tried to find something somewhat similar to like a Cliff Bar. Like this has whole grain oats in it, and it has organic coconut oil in it, sea salt, rosemary extract. Rosemary also is beneficial for cognitive functioning. Research shows that it helps with focus. This is for as a preservative, preserve freshness, but rosemary oil also helps with focusing. And it has just organic whole oats, and it does have tapioca syrup, but if you're going for energy, you do need sugars because carbohydrates break down into sugars. So something like this maybe instead of the Cliff Bar.
Got it. So she brought alternatives. Okay.
Yes, I did.
You know that banana is going to give you more energy than that Gatorade.
Yes.
Okay.
And this has food, yellow sticks in it. So, which is a coloring that they add to it. Other countries have banned it, but the U.S. hasn't banned it yet. Our FDA. Oh, should I start getting into that? We're not the best when it comes to what we allow into our foods. Other countries start to ban things before we do. And so, for instance, you're going to find things in this that aren't the best for you.
Got it. But it tastes so good, especially when it's hot and you're tired. So I see this box of fruit snacks. A lot of high school programs and college programs actually whip out a box of these. And when I first saw it, I'm like, why are they eating gummy bears? Right? And they're like, that's actually good, and it actually is good, semi-healthy energy. Do you know this?
Yeah, so like we're talking about, research what they're seeing for energy. So something in a match, again, like I was saying, you need simple sugars in order to get that energy. And in endurance competitions, 90 minutes in, you've depleted your glycogen storage pretty much. So your glycogen storage is in your muscles, and that's how what your body's using for energy. If you are a carbohydrate dominant athlete using carbohydrates as your main fuel, you are going to go through that fuel within 90 minutes of your exercise. So like what you've stored up. So after 90 minutes, that's where you're going to see people, if they are timing it, they start to do their snacking. Something like this does provide it. Like I was saying, the banana has also the fructose in it. And so this has the fructose. Let's see.
I think it's on your side.
Yep. Okay. Like there's fruit puree in it. There's corn syrup, there's sugar, modified cornstarch, gelatin, grape juice, lactic acid as a preservative, natural flavors. So it has all these different
that doesn't sound very bad.
No, it's not. And so it's decent. And so if you are having something, but again, it has red 40 and blue 1. So it has those color preservatives in it that the Gatorade has, or the colors that they add to it to give it that thing. Right. You can also use like turmeric. Oh. Like that's a natural one that they're starting to do instead for like colors.
Sure.
But if it weren't for a few of those things, I would say I understand why people are having that. in the middle of a match, and like you're starting to get into that 2-hour marker, like in between that 90 minutes, and like you're starting to feel like, okay, now I'm like needing more. The shakes are coming, yeah, which could be attributed to nerves, but also at 90 minutes, as you're approaching like the 100-minute mark, you should be starting to refuel. So you understand why people are doing that. You also see like those Cliff Bar shock blocks. You see a lot of those. You see that. An alternative, if you want to start controlling what's in it, this sounds pretty crazy, but it's actually really easy to make. You can make something like this really simple. If you have, like at a health food store, notice I said that there's gelatin in here. You can buy, you want to get like, control the source, so you want to do like a grass-fed gelatin. So, because you are what you eats. So the animal products, what they're eating, is what you're ingesting as well. So try to do like a grass-fed gelatin. You can get that at like any health food store. And then you can do things, if you are someone that likes caffeine, you can do like matcha tea powder in there.
Oh, there you go.
Gelatin, because matcha green tea is great for focus as well. It contains L-theanine. L-theanine is something that really improves focus and cognition. So if you're doing something like that, you're helping out with energy with a little bit of the caffeine. Focus, as we know, tennis, you need to focus. And you need mental clarity. Then you do like some honey or some maple syrup with that, and like lemon, and you can even start getting crazy and like experiment with beet juice, because beet juice is really good for performance as well. If you do something like that, it takes like 20 minutes. You blend it, put it in a fridge, and it starts to solidify. Next day you have a gummy. So like super easy. You can start controlling.
It's like making Jell-O.
Yeah, exactly. And so then you can start controlling what goes in it.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So a lot of tennis players don't understand like how to gain like long-term energy. I mean, obviously you've changed your life in, with nutrition. How do people take like little steps into doing that? Like, let's say I have a match on Saturday. It's Monday today. I know I'm going into like a hot and humid place like Orlando, Florida in August. Like, how do I prepare for something like that?
So if you're so for your match on Saturday, they say because tennis is primarily, like, research is showing that still carbohydrates are the primary fuel to use for it. You're primarily a carbohydrate dominant sport for using that as your fuel source. So then 2 to 3 days before your match, you can start the carb loading process. So at dinner, you can start trying to ensure that, okay, I'm getting adequate amounts of carbohydrates that are starchy. So like sweet potatoes are great. You can have regular potatoes. You can do whole grains, or you can do, if you eat grains, you choose like the whole grains. You can have the proteins as well, but you want to start building up the carbohydrates. So you're doing that 2 to 3 days, carbohydrate loading, prepping for it, because what you're trying to ensure is that you have enough glycogen storage in your muscles before the match. If you know that match is going to be longer than 90 minutes, then you want to have that built up. So start prepping 2 to 3 days before, and then it also depends on when your match is at. So like, let's say you have an 8 a.m. match, your breakfast is going to be different than what your breakfast would be for like a midday match.
Right.
Yeah, because then it just depends on, if it's midday and you have enough time, like 4 to 5 hours to digest the proteins, you can do a breakfast with proteins and carbohydrates, equal amounts, where you're having like your eggs and you're having some like sweet potatoes and then some fruit and then maybe some non-fibrous vegetables. So something like that could be your breakfast. But if you have like an 8 a.m., unless you're getting up at like 3 a.m., which I highly doubt that you are, you should be optimizing sleep, then your breakfast should be primarily carbohydrate. You can do like oatmeal. And oatmeal is something that sits a little bit heavier, but it helps with endurance and it'll help with going longer. It's carbohydrate. It has something known as beta-glucans in it, which helps with endurance for energy. So it's like a slower digested carbohydrate that helps with long endurance. As an endurance sport, you need something like that.
Got it.
So it's just little small things as you go. Try to control what you're putting into your body.
So I'm a kid of the 70s and the 80s, and when people say carbo load, I think of a pound of pasta with some bolognese sauce.
That can be carbo loading.
Okay. That's old school carbo loading, I think. I mean, probably the way you describe with your ingredients will probably last me longer.
It's lasting you longer, and in the process of trying to get carbohydrates, you're also trying to get other essential vitamins and minerals. When you're doing a highly processed white flour pasta, it's been stripped of its nutrients. because that process of getting it down to a white flour, it's been bleached, it's been highly processed, the fiber's been removed. So that's why choosing the types of carbohydrates is beneficial, because also what you're throwing into it when you're having a bowl, if you're having with vegetables and you're having other things, you're getting minerals,
right,
and you're getting other vitamins and these antioxidants that I was talking about in those types of bowls. So if you're having and eating a rainbow, which is like eat the rainbow in your vegetables and fruits, because you can eat Skittles, but
I love that.
So if you're eating something like that, then you are ensuring that you're getting other minerals, other vitamins, other nutrients, as well as the carbohydrates, and you're getting protein. Protein's essential as well for a tennis player. And so that kind of stuff is important too in hotter conditions. You want to make sure everyone hears the term electrolytes. You get your electrolytes from your food. Electrolytes essentially are
not that
you can get it in the liquid form, but if you're not getting some kind of supplement with it, then it's coming from your food. And so that's where also the quality of your food comes into play. Organic produce, they always say it has more flavor, and it also has higher amounts of nutrients, because when they're spraying pesticide on crops, it's depleting the nutrients in the soil, and that's where you get those electrolytes from. It's from the soil. So soil quality is what's giving the quality of the nutrients in your plant that you're eating.
Got it.
And so that's why having things like that, you're also prepping for other electrolytes and minerals that you're trying to ensure that you have come the hot match.
Got it.
And then hydration's key too.
That's my next question is, since we're going to hot and humid weather, cramping is going to be a big issue. How will that food or will anything else help with the cramping aspect?
Yeah, so in trying to ensure that you're getting those other electrolytes and those minerals with like potassium, and you're getting sodium, and you're getting chloride and phosphate, and chromium, those are important. Those are the minerals you're going to find when you eat the rainbow. Also fish, like oysters, are great for chromium levels. So if you are an oyster fan, it's a great food. It has high levels of zinc as well. So foods like that are really beneficial to start building up for getting those minerals. But then the hydration part's key. I was notoriously known for, I drank too much water. So I would just drink a ton of water, but I wasn't getting enough. I would put salt in my food, but I wasn't paying attention to, do I have enough salt to water ratio? And so I would always cramp, and I'm like, I'm prepping, I'm doing this, and I'm having my bananas. Like, I was preparing in those ways, but I wasn't cognizant of like the salt factor. And I sweat a lot. So I know, like, when I play, I'm the person you're going to see, like, I'm losing a ton of water, and you're also losing within the sweat. It's 1/3 of that is sodium. So your sweat is high amounts of sodium. And so you're losing not only just water, but also sodium. So there's some research going into, for like endurance athletes, they've done it on cyclists, going at all out maximum effort, and also at like 50% VO2 max, 70% VO2 max. So they're just doing more sustained exercise in hot environments and in regular temperature. An easy trick that you can do, like 110 minutes before exercise, you have 24 to 26 fluid ounces of water, and you add pink salt. Like you would add a tablespoon of pink salt. Not a tablespoon, sorry, a teaspoon. A tablespoon would be a lot. Teaspoon of pink salt to that water, mix it up, and then you want to drink it over 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
So you're sipping it.
So in your bottle.
Yep, so you're drinking that, and that's like an hour and 10 minutes or so before your match start time. So this is for match play. And so if you do that, what you're doing is you're increasing, so hydration status is like your plasma blood volume, it's electrolytes, it's your cell hydration, and it's your electrolyte status. And so if you simply do that salt and water trick, they're showing that it can increase your endurance levels by up to 20 minutes. It increases your cardiac output, so your heart's pumping blood, and you want that heart to pump blood to your muscles because that's delivering oxygen to your muscles, and it increases overall cardiac output, and it keeps your core body temperature low at its like ambient natural temperature. Once your core body temperature heats up, then that's when you start to see people's faces get flushed, because what that's happening is blood is now going to your skin to try and cool itself down.
Okay.
And what that means is less blood to your muscles. So as your body's starting to heat up, you're getting less efficient. Your body's not working as well. And so that whole process is causing you to now no longer like go as long. And then all of a sudden, when it gets super hot and you're sweating out a ton, you're having less blood going to your muscles, and you're getting depleted in water and salt through sweat. Then you start to see people cramp.
Oh my God.
And so just the simple process of the salt and the water helps stave that off. And if you are properly hydrated, and prepping for those really hot conditions, hopefully you can prevent yourself from cramping.
All right, guys, I've learned so much today. I feel like we could talk for hours more. If you want to continue this conversation, or if you want to consult, with Molly yourself, Molly, what services do you offer?
I do like nutrition consultations. You know how you started talking about your diet and you say like, what should I do? I do those kinds of services. I can also help with like meal preps and helping teach people how to cook, because I feel like that's a huge part, learning how to cook. If you can implement cooking into your lifestyle, you can take control of so much. And also you're helping, if you have a family, get them involved in cooking. It's huge. Research shows that if you know how to cook, it staves off all these diet-related chronic illnesses, because you become more empowered. You're not reliant on how restaurants are cooking food.
Right.
So I help in that area. I help with nutrition consultation. I can help with athletic performance. I'm doing consultations with athletes. I help with also people like hormone issues. I can help with diet in relation to that. And I also can help you with like going through your cupboard and figuring out how should you stock your cupboard and your pantry. So anything like new food and nutrition related, I can offer those types of services, in which I can do consultations and just talk to you to try to incorporate a more balanced diet and lifestyle.
Perfect. So you can either do it in person out here in, let's say, Marin County, or you do virtual too, right?
Yeah, completely can do virtual. Virtual's easy nowadays.
Right. So stop seeing the doc and see this doc. All right. You can just do it holistically. Okay. Where can we find you?
You can find me online. I'm trying to be more active on social media. I will say that is my very weak spot, is being active on producing stuff. But I do have a social media handle. It's Medela Nutrition, and MEDELA Nutrition.
Perfect.
You can find that on social media, and also there's a website that's linked on that as well.
Perfect. All right. I want to thank Molly for hanging out with me today. I feel like we could talk forever about, what we need to do to heal our body. But hopefully I'll get her back at another time, and we can learn some more. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.